Now let's talk about premium hatchbacks or B plus segment. This is it. What we have got for you on the program is now the review of the SAIL Yuva. It replaces the Aveo Yuva in the market, and this space hasn't seen too many new entrants besides the Renault Pulse this year, and it is pretty competitive. So what kind of expectations would GM have from this car, especially since it's launching in the Diwali season?
General Motors' fortunes have been slipping in India. Its sales have declined in the first 6 months of this year, and it hasn't had an all-new product out for a while. So the SAIL holds a lot of expectation and a lot at stake for the company in India, especially coming just before Diwali. The SAIL Yuva is the first of 2 offerings on this platform. The sedan will follow, but we get the hatch first. We have seen this car at the Auto Expo in January, and I got a chance to also see some test cars at the GM plant last year. My first impression, despite wondering why GM would abandon its Korean sourcing base and opt for Chinese models, I really did think the SAIL is an attractive looking car. But then I was comparing to the predecessor, wasn't I?
I have mixed feelings when it comes to the styling on this car. Mixed because there are some good bits and some bad bits. However, the car it replaces, the Aveo Yuva, it's certainly better looking than that one. That car had the right shape, the right proportions and the right size. However, it just had a very drab face. This one's a lot more attractive, and you're seeing a nice bold look. Of course, you've been seeing that from Chevrolet for some time now. The front grille, all of that reminds you a little bit of the Beat, a little bit of the Cruze, and you know what? That's a good thing because it makes the car look a lot more attractive. On the side is where you start to see hints of the Aveo Yuva because it's got the same sort of a tall look, and it implies space. However, somehow this car tends to look a little bit smaller to me than the Aveo Yuva did. At the back, it's again fairly contemporary. All the elements are there. As a complete package though, at the back, these tail lights, they look a little bit incongruous. They look a little big because the tailgate isn't that big. The metal on it has been reduced, and it reminds you a little bit of the Figo only because of this vertical cluster. Of course, it's not like the Figo in terms of actual design. Looks fairly sharp and will certainly look different on the roads. Nice big Chevrolet bow tie, of course, has become pretty much the hallmark of all the new designs we're seeing from GM.
So it's contemporary and smart, and most importantly, while staying under 4 meters, still looks ample and spacious, which is a great thing. Considering that Chevy is targeting only one car as the main rival, the Maruti Suzuki Swift, which as we all know isn't about space. That is a good idea as a strategy, but for any product to take on the giant, it has to have giant killer assets galore. On count 1, the SAIL seems way ahead. Now let's step inside.
There's a good sense of space you get from this cabin. It's a nice sort of airy, roomy sort of a cabin, but everything else about it for me is just not coming together. You had potential here because you got some nice lines and some interesting shapes that have been thrown in here. The dash plastics though, the quality, the color, doesn't look very exciting. Also, just the kind of knobs and controls you have for the AC, the music system, even the way the steering wheel looks, it all looks drab, dull, boring. And, you know, look at the Beat. Nice and funky. You could have gone really funky with this car, attracted a lot of younger buyers, or gone a little bit more stately. Compared to the competition, this cabin isn't going to wow anybody. Even the seats, they're not plump, they're not plush, and I have to question the choice of upholstery here as well. You do get a fair amount of equipment though, and so of course at the top end you have airbags, you have Bluetooth connectivity for the phone, you have USB. The instruments, again, a little bit dull looking and not very exciting, frankly. And while you get electric mirrors and you get electric windows, the switches are down here in the middle. Again, I just can't understand that because that's very archaic. They don't look very great either or feel very great. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just have them here on the door like all normal cars do? And finally, I just want to mention that the position is all right of the seat, but under thigh support isn't great, and the position of the pedals, a little bit strange, that angle. It's a little too sharp. It should have been a little bit gentler because your feet start to hurt a little bit after you've been driving for a while.
Now here's where things have not gone well, have they? The Swift is definitely more stylish on the inside. The simple reason? GM has opted for the no-frills model from China. You see, the Chinese market gets this car and also this car as 2 offerings. The Sonic Aveo hatch is swanky and well appointed for the urban buyer, and the sail is more basic for the semi-urban markets, which is why it wasn't financially feasible for GM to bring in a plusher interior on the car that was designed to be basic. So no steering mounted controls, no soft touch dash plastics, no upmarket seats. So GM will only hope the Indian buyer is happy enough with the beige trim palette. The car is available in petrol using the same 1.2-litre engine that goes into the Beat, and has the famed 1.3-litre Fiat Multijet, which GM has co-developed to a certain extent with Fiat, also at its disposal. It's very well tuned to this car and feels sporty.
Now this familiar 1.3-litre diesel engine is doing a pretty good job in this car. It's mated fairly well. I think sound damping is quite decent as well, and this is the part of the whole package which I think has me fairly happy, and that is the way the car handles, the way the car performs, the way it responds to initial acceleration. All of that is more than satisfactory. In fact, you might actually go so far as to say that it's one of the cars that ends up being more fun in this segment, because while the Swift is perhaps the sportiest diesel we've got in this space, it is a little bit light on its feet. It doesn't feel as substantial. This one, the suspension, the way it feels, it's got a little stiffness to it. The way the steering responds and reacts, good fun.
So finally, we seem to be trumping the Swift in a major department. Of course, I haven't driven the petrol, but given the weight of the car, I'd expect the petrol Swift to be the more fun car. But the diesel Yuva certainly has a great handling package with sporty response. Which then brings us to prices. The Sail has been priced where you would expect, just above the Beat, even though a slightly more competitive tag would have helped GM way more. And since the market is skewed towards diesel, here's where the comparison matters, with the Swift of course. Variant for variant, this car should have been priced lower than the Swift to make any significant impact in the market. Perhaps GM could have done a Maruti and called it an introductory price, but the entry pricing especially, I believe, is a missed opportunity. One that could have propelled the car maker into a higher orbit with the Sail, somewhat similar to what happened with the Figo versus Maruti's bread and butter, WagonR and Ritz. Now I hope GM makes the Sail sedan look more plush and inviting and keeps prices very aggressive, but the Sail overall is still a welcome addition to the Indian car bazaar for its size, cabin space and smart diesel drivetrain.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for Retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.